everyone, very good morning and good evening. Welcome to SAP Step Up Circles by Sastrageek Solution, Parminder this side. So let's quickly start. So as you all know that every Sunday we do the Step Up Circle, which we are basically, we come up and we share some very good topic, very exciting topic, which has been requested by our participants. We are doing this practice for more than a year, and we have covered multiple different kind of topics, overview of PP, QM, EWM, some advanced topic, 2021 changes, 2022 changes in S4HANA. We have talked about some technical topics also. We have talked about data migrations. We have talked about the APIs. We have talked about RISE in SAP, a lot of different things which you have asked for. Either I have spoken in this platform or I have taken some expert from outside to speak on it. And today also is we are going to cover another exciting session on quick overview of IBP, where basically I have asked one of our consultant, a very senior consultant, to join to present on IBP. Sam would be joining us in a few time to cover the topic of today's IBP. But before I hand it over to Sam, I would be quickly covering some basics, and then I will hand it over to Sam. Okay, so we have people from PP background, MM background, SD, new to SAP, PP, PPQM, PM, EM, BW, MM, SAP CPI, new to MM, ABAP also we have people, SD, BW. So we have people from the different streams, right? So I don't expect that all of you would be knowing about what is planning. People who are coming from the background, especially PP background, would be knowing a little bit more about the planning. Okay, and but people who are coming from MM would be having some moderate knowledge on the planning. But people who are new to SAP, and especially people who are kind of ABAP, BI, BW, those spaces they are coming, they would be having a very limited knowledge to the planning when it comes to the planning. So what I would be doing, I would try to make everyone onto the same platform so that you would be able to learn from here once you have a basic knowledge of it. So I would be covering some basics for 15 to 20 minutes. Then I would be handing it over to Sam. That Sam would be taking a little bit more onto the IBP side and giving you an IBP overview. Okay, IBP is integrated business planning, and integrated business planning, this tool is about planning, right? Now, before I jump and go into any deep of it, because we are having a multiple different participants, because we have a different participants. So let me first clarify that what is planning. Planning kyun chahiye? Why do we need a planning? Before you understand the advanced things, what is IBP, integrated business planning? Okay, before we learn the big terminologies, just a basic concept so that everybody comes onto the same platform. Why do we need planning? So when we are working in a business, right, what we are working in general, if you will see the end-to-end supply chain, what do we do? In end-to-end supply chain, we buy, we produce, and we sell, right? These are the three major functions we are having: buy, produce, or sell. Or sometimes we directly buy and then we sell it, especially when it comes to the supply chain planning, right? We buy, produce, sell, or we directly buy and sell it. Now, the first thing we want to know, every place we want to know, if I want to buy my material, how much material should I buy? What quantity should I buy? When I should buy? If I want to produce something, when I need to produce, which material, at what quantity? If I want to sell, I need to have my forecast. I need to have my S&OP, sales and operations planning, that what is my forecast of sell, how much I am going to sell it, in which month, what is my monthly plan, what is my weekly plan, which product, how much quantity I am expected to sell. And from there, basically, I would try to identify that how much I need to produce, how much I need to buy it. So each business, we need to do the planning. In each, you can say that each department or each individual segments will be requiring a planning. And at the sell side, we need a planning because we want to know how much we would be selling it. We need to do the forecast. Okay, the forecast comes here. We want to do the forecast, so forecasting would be coming here, and this forecasting would be linked to your demand planning. We'll be doing a demand planning, that how much we need to sell it. So that will depend on a lot of different factors. What is our sales history? Based on the sales history, and what are the influencing factors? How much of more marketing we'll be doing, how much of growth we are expecting, how much of natural demand increase we are expecting because of increase in the buying power. So much of influencing factors would be there, and based on that, we need to identify the forecast. We need to identify the demand, that how much we are expecting to sell. Okay, so there you need a planning. Okay, then once you define that how much you need to sell, you need to pass those demand to the production team, and then production team would be knowing that as per their demand, with influencing factor of the production, with influencing factor of the capacity, you need to know that how much you need to produce. You need to do your production plan. You need to do your production plan. You need to do your detailed scheduling, which product on which line, on which machine, by balancing your production capacity, how much you should produce. Sales team is saying that in January month, you produce 500. In February month, you produce 200. You would be saying in production, it makes sense to me, I would be producing 700. 500, 200 separate two products I would be producing. My changeover times are a lot. So rather than producing them into these 2 months, in January itself, I will prefer to produce 700 so that my setup times can be reduced, right? So that kind of production planning would be required. At the buying side, your buyer would be interested. Your buyer would be interested how much I need to buy. Okay, how much I need to buy, what is the quantity I need to buy, because first the buying need to happen, because the material need to come from the vendor side. Vendor need to supply the material, so there would be a lead time. When the material will come, quality inspections will happen, it will store into the inventory, production will produce, then it will come to the inventory, and then it would be sold. I'm talking about kind of a make to stock scenario, right? So they also need to know in which month, which material, what quantity, on what date time I need to buy it, so that they can do their planning, that what is my lead time, and based on the lead time, at what point I need to start my procurement process. My purchase requisition, purchase order, approval, identifying a vendor, that also has a lead time. So they need to also do the planning. Okay, they need to also do the planning. And in between all of them, we would also require, in between all of them, you would also be requiring inventory, which is linked with all the three. You need to also do your inventory planning. How much stock you need to put in the inventory? What should be your safety stock? If you're doing with the reorder based planning, what are your reorder points? So you need to also optimize your inventory, because it's a long supply chain, and supply chain is not ending here, or it's not starting the vendor, not starting with the buy. Your supply chain is starting with the vendor, right? So the supply chain is long. Maybe the material you want to sell in the month of October, your vendor might be starting producing it in the month of March for that material, supplying it to you, coming it to you, stored based on the buffer time you have stored in your inventory. Then it goes to the production producing it. Then it goes to the finished good location. Then it goes to the distribution center. And from the distribution center, it is sold. So the supply chain is big. And each point of the supply chain, we need to plan. Every department need to plan. Every department need to answer the three questions. What is the quantity? Okay. When I need to do it, quantity, when, and what material I need to buy it, produce it, or sell it. That question need to be answered. Very simple questions, right? But the things would be very complicated. Don't forget to subscribe our channel and click on bell icon to update yourself with latest SAP videos. Okay, in supply chain, in bigger business, things would be very complicated. Now, to answer those complicated things, to answer those complicated planning, we require some IT tools, right? So that's what we are going to talk about, that, yeah, what kind of IT tools would be required, which would be answering these kind of complex planning, these kind of complex situation, which is linked with each other. In between, in meantime, the support team has shared my LinkedIn account if you want to get connected me over LinkedIn, and the YouTube account also at the YouTube also. Every week we share around 4 to 5 videos. That account links has been shared if you want to join our YouTube channel. Okay, let's proceed ahead. Now, with that, you would be having a very basic idea on the planning that at the sales, we need a planning, at the production, we need a planning. For material shortages, we will be having a MRP, material requirement planning. We need to plan for the inventory, and we need to also do the supply planning. Supply planning I have not talked about in the diagram. Supply planning is you don't directly sell to the, you don't directly sell it to the your customers, right? In between, there will be distribution centers. So you need to also plan that when you produce after production, how much you need to distribute into the different distribution center so that your overall demand can be met by the customers. Okay, so that distribution planning would also come in picture. So that is the basic that what is planning. Okay, we need a planning in each area, starting production and ending with the sales. Now we will be discussing for this planning, what are the solutions available? What are the different solutions are available from SAP side? So SAP, you all know SAP are having a different products. We have ECC. ECC product is there, Enterprise Core Component. A lot of clients are on ECC, and the future is S4HANA. You also know people are now moving the migration from ECC to S4HANA. By 2027 or by latest 2030, the support is going to finish with ECC, and everybody need to move to S4HANA. So we have ECC, but SAP always talk about, when you talk to SAP, boss, we are in ECC, but we need some advanced planning solutions. We need it. They always say that ECC is not a planning engine. They always say that ECC is just a transaction engine. If you need advanced planning kind of functionality, you go to APO. You go to APO, Advanced Planning and Optimization. But let's discuss that what kind of solutions related to planning is available in ECC. The first solution which is available in ECC related to planning is MRP. Very good, Kapil. So basically how I define MRP is a basic planning engine. MRP is a basic planning engine with basic algorithm, which ensures we have a right material available at right time, at right place, in right quantity. Right material available at right time, at right place, in right quantity, but the algorithm is very basic in nature. So what basic algorithm we are talking about is checking demand versus stock plus supply. You check what is demand, you check what is stock plus supply, and based on that, if it finds that demand is more and stock plus supply is less, it identify, okay, this is a shortage situation. And for this shortage situation, it propose the solution. If it is need to be procured material, it say that purchase requisition, boss, go and buy it. If it is in-house produced material, it will be creating a planned orders. Okay, that is the basic planning it does. It compare your demand versus supply, and then it gives you that how much you need to procure if it is a shortage and how much you need to procure. It has a lot of shortcomings. I will not talk about. I can talk for 2 hours only talking about what are the shortcomings of MRP, which we talk a lot in our PP excellence session. Then what is the drawbacks of MRP, which MRP cannot deliver and other tools would be able to deliver. Okay, so MRP, the basic key thing, the key shortage, which I found it out, that it works on to the shortage. This tell ki bhaiya, if you have a shortage, then I will give you the proposal. Now the advanced planning tool I need, ki why the shortage should be there. Why you are waiting to shortage to occur and then to give me a solution? Why don't we have something like that, the planning like that, ki in my supply chain, shortage should not occur, right? Those kind of advanced planning, how we can do it. That is not answered by MRP. That is just one thing. There are 50 other things which is not answered by MRP. When the things got complex, MRP is a basic solution. But yes, it's a very decent solution of material requirement planning, which can help you to produce and to procure. Okay. Then in ECC, we have S&OP, which has been marked for obsolete, not obsoleted, but marked for obsolete. Sales and operations planning. Sam would be talking about more about the sales and operations planning, but you can consider it as just finalizing your forecast, that how much you would be selling it or how much you will require a particular material on weekly basis or monthly basis. That planning is your sales and operations planning. Then we have a long-term planning. Long-term planning is also called as a capacity simulation planning, where you are trying to plan for the long term for a year, and you are trying to check it out, that what would be the constraint if with that planning, and you try to resolve the constraint. That's long-term planning. Then you have a capacity leveling. In capacity leveling, in MRP does not consider your machine's capacity. Okay, it will not be considering the machine capacity. So machine capacity, you can consider it separately. That is with the capacity leveling tool. Okay, after MRP done, we do the capacity leveling. We adjust that, okay, in which machine, how much load is coming. We do the load balancing. So load balancing of your machine capacity, we do with the capacity leveling. We have ATP. What is ATP now? Quickly over the chat. ये ATP क्या है? Thank you for the answers related to MRP. Now ATP. Available to promise. Available to promise. Okay, that's good. Now ATP is that ATP is nothing but your confirmation. Available to promise is a little bit complicated terminology. SAP is very good in that, and I am very happy they put the complicated terminologies. Simple things, they have complicated names. I'm very happy with that. That's why consultant business is going. That gives bread and butter to consultant, because business does not understand that. You need some middle consultant like us to explain to business, right? Available to promise is just a fancy terminology, but it's a confirmation to customer. Customer say that, boss, I would be, I want this material on 25th of August. That customer sales order would be telling. But based on your planning, based on your supply, based on your stock, how much you can deliver on 25th of August? Or can you deliver it before, or can you deliver it after? You said that you require a 500 quantity. I would be able to supply only 300 by 25th of August. And then on 28th of August, I would be able to supply the rest of 200. That is your promise to the customer. You are giving confirmation, acknowledgement back to the customer that, boss, we have received your sales, we have received your purchase order, and we have booked the sales order in our system. And based on that, with our stocks, we would be able to supply you 300 on 25th, and remaining 200 would be coming on 28th of August. So that confirmation, that also requires a lot of planning, and ATP itself is becoming a module. Okay, now we are having a specialized, it's not ATP, it's now called AATP. Specialized AATP consultants are there, okay, who would be only working on this topic. Looks like very small, right? But when you jump into it in SAP, and when you jump into the business problems, to solve the business problem within ATP itself, you will see that 3 to 4 different sub-modules are there. Okay, that is available to promise. So these solutions are available in ECC. Now we know that from ECC, we are moving to S4HANA. So when we are moving from ECC to S4HANA, our planning solutions are also changing. Our planning solutions are also enhancing. Now I would be talking about that before jumping to S4HANA, what planning solutions are available in APO, then what planning solution in S4HANA, and where IBP will fit in. That we'll be talking about. But before going there, any questions? If you have any question, I will be taking few questions. You can quickly put it on the chat. If you don't have a question, I want you to put NQ on the chat window if you don't have any question. Everyone, either question or put NQ. Thank you. Thank you very much for the NQs. Okay, let's proceed ahead. So we are having another tool. So ECC is having a basic things. You said that basic MRP planning or basic ATP available to promise. Those kind of things can be done with ECC. Okay, and whenever you went to SAP and you said that, yeah, some advanced algorithms I need, I want a detailed scheduling of my production. MRP cannot consider the capacity constraint of the machine. I need some algorithm which would be able to give me a production plan by considering my machine capacity, by considering my capacity constraints, right? So that's what I wanted. If you knocked SAP door, SAP said that, boss, my ECC is my transaction engine. I have those solutions, but you need to go with for APO. APO and ECC talk with SIF, core interface, right? APO is advanced planning and optimization, but it has a solution for complex and the advanced related planning algorithms APO has. So APO has 4 submodules. Okay, and ECC is going to sunset by 2027. There are date changes are there. I'm not sure whether the date is still same. APO is also going to sunset by 2030. Both are going to sunset. SAP is going to replace both. Before we discuss that which solution will fit where, let's see what APO has. APO has a demand planning solution. ECC, what we talk about SOP solution, sales and operations planning solution, is very less used because it's very basic in nature. When it comes to the forecasting, when it comes to the demand planning, business want very interactive tools and a lot of algorithms they need to put it on. They need to put multiple, one algorithm, second algorithm, fix their, do their checking with the different departments. S&OP cycle itself would be very big, and finalization of S&OP demand can take almost 1 to 2 months of time with the multiple meetings coming up to set it up for the next year. So that kind of advanced forecasting tools, advanced forecasting algorithms was available in APO. So demand planning SAP, anyone comes, your demand planning solution is very basic in ECC. SAP said that APO is my solution. That is just a gist of it or flavor of it. Then if somebody said that I want to consider my machine capacities, my MRP does not consider my machine capacity. I want to consider my setup times also. And based on the setup time, I want to do my planning. MRP does not consider that also. For them, solution is PPDS, production planning and detail scheduling. It has another algorithm which can do the multiple things. I talked about more about this in our PP excellence session where we have one topic of PPDS. So there are 7, 8 key functionalities PPDS provide: detailed scheduling, machine capacity, including planning based on the setup time. Your ECC cannot do it, but PPDS will be able to do it. Then we talk about ATP, right? And here it is global available to promise. Global available to promise means the ATP check can check, you have a distribution center, demand came onto the distribution center, and then SAP ATP would be checking only for this distribution center. But you have multiple distribution centers. If you want, when the demand comes, it should check all the distribution center, and in your sales order, it should be saying that no, DC1, I'm not supplying. I would be supplying from DC4 because there the material is available. That is global available to promise. The problem with the MRP is also same. MRP works at the plant level. ATP also works at the plant level. But if you want to check across the plants, that solutions come from the GATP. Again, I'm just explaining one of the functionality. It has a multiple functionalities. Supply network planning. Supply network planning is also same kind of planning where you want to do the distribution planning. That I have a manufacturing plant 1, 2, 3. This distribution center have a demand and wants to supply. From where it should come? From manufacturing plant 1, manufacturing plant 2, or manufacturing plant 3, from where the demand should come. That happens through the optimization. So those optimization runs are available in SNP, which can also tell you that what should be the right source of supply once you have a multiple supply sources. So those are the advanced functions. Again, I have just explained these all goes into the 80 hours of training, 80 to 90 hours of training. But I've just tried to explain that, okay, there are a lot of things in the planning which is not available in ECC, but which will be available in APO. Okay. Now, what is going to, I am saying that, boss, this is not available. This is also not going to available, which means that all the solution is going to be revamped. All planning solution is going to be revamped. That is bringing a huge demand in the market for the new planning tools like AATP, like IBP, which will be replacing your S&OPs, DPs, SNP, it would be replaced by IBP, and your GATP would be replaced by AATP. That is bringing huge demand because these tools will switch to the new tools, and the people who knows the new tools, a lot of demand is coming because of the shift which SAP is doing, right? So with that, we are starting our, at the end of July, I think on 30th of July, we are starting with our IBP training. So full-fledged IBP training would be starting. And at the last Sunday of July, we'll be having session number 1. It would be a weekend batch happening on Saturday and Sunday morning. Sam would be taking, I will be quickly introducing Sam very soon. Okay. Now, let me check if few questions are there on the chat. Okay, I have a question from Harshal. What is difference between SD SOP and PP SOP? See, if you talk about the business terminology, SOP is sales and operations planning. It's sales and operations planning. It does not belong to SD. It does not belong to PP. When Sam would talk about in the detailed session, the full S&OP cycle, you will see it touch at least 5 to 6 departments. It touch your procurement department, it touch your manufacturing department, it touch your sales department, it touch your manufacturing department, marketing department also. So the different departments would be involved to have your consensus of demand in S&OP. So S&OP is neither SD nor PP. If you talk about business terminology, sales and operations planning is a business terminology which happens with the business, okay, and it would be touching all the departments. Only the sales history comes from the SD side. It does not mean it's SD tool. Basically, it's a planning tool. Now, what happens in planning? SAP has put it planning in PP. PP has two things, PP module, production and planning, production, execution, and planning. When it comes to planning, it touched different departments. Okay, it just touched the MRP, sourcing and procurement, manufacturing, sales also it got touched. So planning itself is a different stream. When it comes to APO, we stop talking about SD, MM, PP, right? Because it's a core planning consultant, right? So that way you need to think about a core planning consultant, which will be touching all the areas of the supply chain. S&OP would be touching all the areas of your supply chain. That was a quick question. What is the difference? Okay, that I have answered from Harshal. Side topic, when is the new PP batch? Okay, some people are asking PP batch and my team is replying when the batches are starting. Munaf is saying that the PPDS DP will also cut off. Everything in APO will cut off. APO full got shut it down. Nikhil is asking PP. I believe PP is a prerequisite for IBP training. So I will jump off. I will give it to Sam, jump off, but I will try to jump in back at the last of the training. At last, I would be covering who are the right audience for the IBP training. It's not necessary that PP is prerequisite. We recommend all the PP consultants to shift it towards the IBP side. They can shift it towards the IBP side, but there are people who can directly learn the IBP. It's not like the PP is a prerequisite for it. It's recommended to have it, but it's not mandatory. Vikas is asking, what is the difference between SOP in ECC and SOP in IBP? SOP is in ECC is not a SOP. I don't consider it as a SOP. If I talk in the business language, SOP in ECC, we don't consider. Even SAP does not consider. Many of the projects, when we take the SOP solutions and when business, not talking about now, talking about 10 years ago, when business are, okay, I need this, consistent demand need to be happen, my demand need to flow from one department to another department, changes need to happen, changes review need to happen, all the full business cycle of S&OP would be available in IBP. So ECC S&OP is just a 5% of it, what business wants it. That's why not now, at the time of ECC itself, SAP has said that this ECC S&OP is obsoleted, is marked as obsolete, not obsoleted, but marked as obsoleted, which around 10 years ago itself, SAP has stopped investing on S&OP on ECC because they have taken it to APO. Now from APO, they are taking it to IBP. So there would be 5-6 sessions would be there to make you understand what all things is there in S&OP. Vikas. Akshay is asking, what is the good for the PP consultant, PPDS or IBP? I would say go for IBP, because the IBP is touching your all the three areas. IBP will touch all the three areas. PPDS is only manufacturing. Adoption to the, now I will also come that why PPDS has not come to IBP. That will answer your question. So I'm parking that the prerequisite for that. I have a one particular slide we'll be talking about after the session, who can do the IBP. Vikas is asking, Vikas Bansal is asking, will stop in ECC, will serve the purpose, and then why SOP in IBP? In ECC, S&OP has been obsoleted because S&OP does not provide the solution what business wants. So they took it in APO. So SOP solution, if anyone wants it, SAP recommends, but yeah, ECC is a very basic solution, will not fulfill the demand, you go for APO. And now from APO, it brought to IBP. PPDS will be available in SAP PPS for HANA. It will obsolete, I guess. Okay, I'm coming to that. Okay, the people have a lot of questions whether I can go for IBP. I will answer it. Let's have a review of IBP and then I will answer it. Who all the people can go for IBP? Okay. So now let's move to S4HANA. What is coming in S4HANA? Now the ECC and APO, okay? ECC and APO, the both is going to obsolete. So the planning solution would be provided from S4HANA and IBP. S4HANA and IBP combined would be giving you the full planning solution. And IBP has a lot to offer, the things which was not available in ECC, things which was not available in APO, things which is not available in S4HANA, there's additional planning features are also available in IBP. Okay. So the first thing is DP. So let me started marking from here. DP, demand planning, is going into IBP. You will be having a demand planning, or S&OP also comes under it. S&OP and demand planning solution would be coming through the IBP. PPDS, they have broken the bucket from here and they have put it the bucket exactly brick. They have inserted the same solution they have inserted in S4HANA. Okay. Earlier, it was available with the APO. You need to integrate with the APO with the SAP. Now it is embedded solution available in S4HANA, but with the separate license cost. With a separate license cost. Okay. The GATP also, GATP, they have not done the same thing as PPDS. PPDS, they have removed the brick. They have not made the much improvement. Why they have not think about making much improvement on the PPDS? Because adoption to PPDS is very low. Even I have started my career journey in PP. I have touched base as a solution architect or as a pre-sales, multiple places. I have at least touched base of 15 projects in PP, and out of 15 projects, I think only 2 people has adopted, only 2 big businesses has been adopted to PPDS, and only one is running significantly, because it's quite complex in nature. That kind of detailed scheduling, every manufacturing is not required. Okay, so the adoption is low. That's why SAP has not made the improvement. SAP has broken that brick and put it at the same brick in S4HANA. All the other places, they have made a significant solution. The DP solution is completely removed and new solution has been created. New code plus new interface. Everything they have put it new. GATP is also going to be completely removed, and we have now AATP solution. This is also completely new developed solution. Complete new code, complete new interface, and it would be having also some advanced features which would not be available in GATP. Okay, that is also a complete revamp by SAP. SNP solutions, supply solutions will also go to IBP. Again, completely newly they have developed, complete new solution. So you'll see only PPDS is there where they have not worked on, because the adoption is low. That's why they said, okay, I need to keep the functionality. Let's insert in S4HANA. Okay. Apart from that, we have also MRP available. MRP is available in ECC, here also available. Additional MRP live is available in S4HANA. These kind of things we cover in our PP excellence training. DDMRP is also available, demand-driven MRP. This is a solution for your inventory optimization. So this inventory optimization is a new solution which was not available in APO, which was not available in ECC. Now it is available with S4HANA, plus it is also available in IBP. DDMRP, demand-driven MRP solution, which is your inventory planning and inventory optimization solution, available in both IBP and DDMRP. Predictive MRP would be basically your long-term planning. What we were doing, the simulation long-term planning, is going to replace by the predictive MRP. It's same long-term planning, but completely again revamped, a complete new solution SAP has given, new coding, new interface with the Fiori. Most of the new things you will see, it will work with the Fiori, because SAP thought they need to simplify the interface. In IBP, a lot of things will happen in the Excel sheet, because Excel is the major tool of planning, which was not available in ECC. When the planners need to do intense planning with the Excel sheet, that Excel interface which was missing is available in IBP. Again, S&OP is marked for obsolete, because S&OP solution completely SAP is recommended here. Now go for IBP. If you need S&OP solution, IBP is the solution. IBP is having the solution. Okay. Okay. So this is the places where basically the above tool will go, and it will be fitting into some part into APO, some part in S4HANA. So what exactly IBP cover? Now let's go into IBP. Who can learn IBP? I will come to that. Okay. So IBP is integrated business planning. I will not speak much on IBP because Sam is the one IBP expert. He would be speaking. All the advanced planning function features would be there. It would be having a web-based approach, web-based planning, and the Excel-based approach would also be there. A lot of interfaces would be working through Excel in IBP. It's a standalone solution. Okay, now IBP, how SAP has put it, they have put it separately on the cloud. SAP is selling IBP as a standalone planning solution, which can easily get connected with your S4HANA or ECC also, and it can also connect with any another ERP. They're putting it like that, that it can get connected with your Oracle, it can get connected with your Microsoft Dynamics, you can get connected and get your planning done through the IBP. That's why they are creating it as a standalone solution, standalone planning solution, which is not limited to SAP. Although the 95%, 98% adoption as of now is coming from the SAP customers only. But they are putting and designing it that way that it should not be limited to SAP. Okay, with that, I would be handing it over to Sam. If there are a few questions, I will quickly answer them. Vikas is asking whether the PPDS training is available. PPS training is in pipeline. We will make it available. It will take some time. Okay. As an EWM consultant, should I go for IBP now or after some time? You should go for IBP if you are interested, if you are working onto the planning side in the business, or if you are very interested into the planning side. Planning is which motivates you or which attracts you. Okay, if you enjoy doing planning, join IBP. Okay. Sam, are you there? Can you raise your hand so that I can make you co-host? Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Okay, with this, let me quickly introduce Sam. So Sam is the IBP expert. Not only the IBP expert, I know Sam for almost for 12 years now. We have worked together into the multiple projects, and he's kind of a guru to me. He's the one, he started his career into the manufacturing side of it. He worked as a core manufacturing, core planning, having more than 20 plus years of experience. And then he started, same as me, he started as a PP consultant. He worked onto the PP and MM modules. And from there, he was the one of the 12 years ago when we worked together, he was into the APO module. He was the APO expert. And from APO, then he moved, after jumping into the multiple modules in APO, he moved in IBP. It's around 5 to 6 years when the IBP started. From that part itself, IBP, Sam is working on IBP. Almost more than 5 to 6 years of experience Sam has on IBP. And he has worked into the different sub-modules or IBP. He's one of the one, if I need to reach it out, anything for the planning, covering in any of the tool, I would be reaching out to Sam because he has all of the knowledge which he can clearly tell me because he has worked at the ground and all the different tools of SAP in the planning. With that brief introduction, welcome to the Step Up Circle, Sam.
Thanks, Parminder, for introduction. Hello, everyone. I hope, Parminder, I'm audible.
Sam, are you speaking? Not sure if I'm able to hear. Let me check.
Yes. Am I audible, Parminder, now?
Yes, it was problem from my side. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Yeah. So thanks, Parminder. Team, I think I was going through the questions what you have in your mind, right? And all are obvious questions. Maybe to start with, I liked one question, right? I mean, what are the prerequisites to get into IBP? As per, I mean, maybe some of you are working in SAP MM modules, some of you are working in PP modules, some are in different areas of logistics execution, EWM, or even from the reporting perspective, right? So always, as a consultant, we have a question in mind that will it be the right move for me to switch to some other module, right? And how will it help me, right? And what I can say right now, looking at the experience so far, where I see a lot of IBP resources, even a fresher can learn IBP. A engineering graduate who has recently finished his engineering can also get into IBP. And I have seen practical examples where these guys are picked up IBP so well, although they did not have any prior experience, even of ECC or S4. Okay. So first of all, please, if you have a doubt that can IBP help me? Yes, definitely it will help you, right? Either to get a role in the supply chain planning area or within your module, just to mature your understanding and with the help of overall understanding of supply chain, grow vertically within the same module, right? So do not keep this question in mind that if I learn specific module, will it help me or not? Definitely it will help in one way or other, right? Now question is, I mean, Parminder was also rightly directing that we have, if you look at the supply chain, right, we have different functions within supply chain. So as Parminder was also indicating, if you look at the supply chain, right, on the extreme right side, we have customer base, right? So ultimately, the end goal is to sell the products to the customers, right? So there is a sales and distribution model, a module exists in ECC or S4 from the execution perspective. Now, in order to sell these goods to these customers, these goods will be shipped from specific warehouses or distribution centers or depots, right? You can term it differently, but the concept is still same. That means each customer would be tagged to its nearby warehouse from where it can be replenished the goods. Now, all these regional distribution centers, if they do not have stock to sell it to customers, they will replenish this stock from the specific source. In this case, it can be a central warehouse, okay, which has a higher storage capacity, which will store the stock, and as per the needs of regional warehouses, it will deploy the stocks to those regional warehouses from where it can be sold to customers, right? So this specific process would be under our logistic execution, right? It could be warehouse managed, it could be inventory managed, right? But the logistics execution guys would be also having experience in these areas where from the execution perspective on the stock transport order case, right? Now let's say if you don't have a sufficient stock in central warehouse, then the source location would be manufacturing plant where the finished good would be produced. Now in this example, let's say finished good is produced using couple of raw materials, and these raw materials will be sourced from suppliers. So a PP guy would be focusing only on the execution of manufacturing, like production order, process order scenarios, and the MM guy will be focusing on the purchase of these components, right? From purchase requisitions to purchase order case, right? So individually, somehow we are linked to the supply chain activities, okay? But then when we talk about supply chain planning, it covers the end-to-end planning process, starting from estimating the demand, how much demand to be sold to specific customers, right? And then estimating or calculating the replenishment proposals, right? By looking at the demand and stocks, firm receipts, calculating the net requirements, passing those net requirements to the supplying locations and so on. And ultimately creating the planned orders from manufacturing perspective and purchase requisitions for components perspective, right? So overall, all this determination of forecast or stock transfer requisition, planned order, purchase requisition will be part of the planning scope, right? Now so somehow you would have had experience to MRP concepts, which also talks about the same phenomena, right? But if you realize that there would be a common department within your organization who is responsible to make sure that they are aligning the forecast across the different departments, like sales forecast or forecast from sales team, forecast coming from marketing team, forecast coming from your commercial team, where they are projecting their revenues, right? The finance team. The forecast estimated by the demand planner, who is the expert in statistics based on the past sales history, he is predicting the forecast. So there are various elements of forecast exist that needs to be aligned and come up with a consensus demand, right? So coming up with a consensus demand is the objective of the sales and operation plan, right? Whereas it requires a collaborative process to talk to different stakeholders within your organization It could be a sales representative, it could be a key account manager, it could be a business head from sales perspective, it could be a marketing head, a commercial head, and so on, right? Because everyone has a say while predicting the demand. And ultimately, that predicted demand has to be aligned across all these departments and has to be stamped by your supply chain director and finance director, because supply chain director's responsibility is to fulfill that demand quantity, and finance director would be interested to make sure that his revenue projection in terms of currency, US dollar, you can take as an example, is fulfilled, right? So alignment of quantity in projection with revenue planning has to be done, which is the primary object of sales and operation planning. So now, if you realize it, it is one level above than the normal operation planning, right? And that's where there is a key demand or key importance for those consultants who understand the supply chain planning, right? Because unless the consensus demand is aligned, the further activities will not take place. That's a simple brief what I would try to explain how sales and operations planning would come into picture. Now, if we go back few years, right, when SAP started talking about or bringing the SAP R3 systems, right? So I will just scroll right side. Okay. So initially, SAP introduced R3 system, right, which was the execution system, and then slowly they started evolving that as a modified version called as SAP ECC, right? So within SAP ECC also, SAP attempted to have some planning intelligence, like Vishal, because they were mentioning about S&OP within ECC. But as Parminder rightly indicated, it did not get materialized. Okay, the module itself was not that matured, and slowly SAP realized that instead of focusing in ECC to build such kind of functionality, there is a need to have a separate module altogether. Okay, so they offline started working on it, and eventually what they did was they introduced APO module to carry out the individual function of demand planning, supply planning, which they call it as SNP. Within SNP, you also have a distribution planning, which they call it as DRP, and then a separate short-term operational module, which is called production planning and detailed scheduling. Okay, so these individual modules within APO over the period got matured and they were kind of established, and clients started trusting it. However, clients still had a question that I'm fine with these individual modules, but how about my overall S&OP process, for which I still do not have any option to carry out in the system, right? That was the major challenge clients started putting to SAP. And that's where SAP started coming up with an idea that let's talk about creating a individual independent module so that clients can carry out their sales and operations planning process. And with this idea, SAP introduced a tool called as SNOP. Okay. This tool is nothing but today's IBP system. Slowly, they changed this name from SNOP to IBP, which is moreover a best practice name called as integrated business planning, because it talks about collaboration. It talks about a joint process to align on your constraint demand calculation, right? And that's how IBP started getting evolved. So first focus from SAP was just think about creating a solution which will satisfy the sales and operations planning process, and we will still continue these modules in APO separately. Okay, so that was the starting thought process somewhere around 2014 to 15. time. And then anyway, SAP had a vision to also indicate that over the period, I will have to obsolete this APO, which is an in-premise solution, and move towards cloud-based solution. That means all these individual modules, somewhere down the line, SAP had thought that they will be transitioned to IBP. And that's how IBP got into picture, which not only talks about S&OP, but also talks about individual demand planning function, individual supply planning function. Safety stock calculation within IBP is called as inventory planning or inventory optimization, you can say, right? And then as Parminder mentioned, since SAP is focusing on sales and operations planning, demand and supply at IBP side, and production planning would be more related to the execution perspective, so that they shift PPDS to S4. That's how the overall thought process got evolved. Please stop me and ask if you have any questions so far, but I just wanted to give you background how IBP got evolved and which modules of IBP started getting into picture. Okay, I will quickly jump to a slide and just walk you through on the IBP concepts or sales and operations planning concepts, right? So again, if you look at this, it's more of a collaborative approach where a central organization within central department within the organization is responsible to manage your product portfolio, estimate demand, do the demand review, estimate the supply, meaning calculate the replenishment plans, identify the constraints within your replenishment because of lack of stock for key components, as an example, do the demand and supply balancing discussions, and use this KPI or alert mechanism, exceptions handling, and come up as part of your final S&OP, which you can call it as management business review, to finalize your consensus demand. That's the ultimate goal of your S&OP, and that's the ultimate usage of IBP, right? I will deep dive on these individual processes quickly, right? But before going into that, I will try to help you visualize what exactly IBP contains, right? So if you look at this box, let's first talk about a module called as sales and operations planning. It covers across the grid, right? So sales and operations planning, you can utilize your strategic and tactical processes. Strategic from long-term forecasting perspective, not at a product level or SKU level, but even at an aggregated level, like maybe if you're talking about pharmaceuticals, it would be at an product family level. If you're talking about consumer goods, it could be at a home care, personal care level, right? If you're talking about chemicals, it could be at a formulation level. So long-term forecasting for yearly basis, maybe for next 5 years, and tactical planning, where you are focused to estimate your forecast at a SKU level, right? Not at an aggregated level, but at an SKU level with a lower granularity of time. It could be month, it could be weeks, right? That's why S&OP is spread across. And that was the initial focus of IBP. Once that model got matured, in parallel, SAP also started thinking of APO replacement, and then they introduced these individual modules like IBP for demand. If I look at the left side bottom, right, where there are additional algorithms available in IBP to calculate your statistical forecast to come up with your final demand calculations. Now, over the period, looking at the variations in demand, and in the specifically in the short term, where the demand variation can lead to interruption in your supply chain. So SAP also brought up a new module called as demand sensing. Okay, not all clients might be using it, but yes, SAP is still trying to pitch in on that. And then, as Parminder mentioned, if you need to calculate your safety stock, there are dedicated algorithms provided by SAP in inventory optimization module. And if you are talking about supply or replenishment calculation, then there is a response and supply module. Okay, there is a dedicated license available for individual modules. That means if your client only wants to utilize S&OP, you do not need to buy license for individual demand, inventory, or response and supply. It is become easier for clients to pick and select only those specific licenses which they are looking for. And on top of it, since we are talking about collaborative process, we are talking about decision-making ability, the planners would need certain reference point like alerts, exception mechanisms, KPIs, that would be covered under control tower. That's why supply chain control tower is also spread across. Right now, if you ask me, so far sales and operations planning and IBP for demand are quite matured, and you would see a lot of clients are going for those. And now SAP is trying to pitch in inventory optimization and response and supply to those clients who are still using APO. Okay. And now it's a hard decision point for clients because SAP has already declared that by 2027, there will be soft lock for SAP APO, and by 2029, everybody has to transition to some other module. Either it is a SAP module or non-SAP module, but APO will get decommissioned, right? And that's where you will see SAP is putting a lot of efforts in optimizing this inventory and response and supply, because unless they create a success story of these modules, clients will hesitate to go for these modules now, and they will start looking for alternatives like Kinaxis, O9, OMP, which are non-SAP systems, right? But now if we focus on the SAP modules, if we are trying to get expertise, we should focus on sales and operations planning and IBP for demand. And within sales and operations planning, definitely there is a part of demand and supply calculation, because it talks about demand review and supply review. So SAP has given a basic functionalities of demand and supply planning in S&OP. But if you want to utilize detailed level of statistical forecasting, where you can have multiple parameters, multiple variables, and come up with some seasonal forecast, then you have to also choose an independent IBP for demand model, right? But if you're looking at a high level demand generation possibility and more of a collaborative processes to be established, then S&OP is fine. That's what I just wanted to cover. Yes, I think Sanjay, you're right. So basically S&OP later point of time got renamed as IBP. Right? So these are the modules which exist in IBP portfolio so far, and SAP is trying to pitch in for those individual modules as such. And those are, it's a SaaS-based tool, cloud-based tool, which will be connected to S/4HANA in future, right? Because anyway, SAP ECC is getting obsolete, and clients are now transforming their execution system to S4. So it makes sense. At the same time, they should also transform their existing planning tools to the new generation tools. And that's why IBP is in demand.
Okay, Sam, there is one question which I would take it up, and you can also add into that. Is 2-3 times it has been asked, yeah, guide us Kinaxis versus IBP. Which one we should grow our career in? Kinaxis looks better from its solution perspective. It looks mature. So which one we should get selected, right? So first thing here that we are not here to sell any functionality of IBP or anything from the Connexus side. It's more a question towards how to select a module for the career growth. Okay, so what I suggest you, or I suggest anyone, if you're going to select one, always think over that which one is the one where you can easily get a chance to work on. Because finally, when you will learn it, after learning it, you need to get a project to get into it and to work on it, right? So let's say if I am working on a project, if in my project, the client has implementing Connexus, and I know that with that implementation, I would be getting few more knowledge on Connexus. And if I learn Connexus, my future growth would be better because I will be having some experience of Connexus associated with me. So I would prefer that. On the other hand, I am on SAP. I see that multiple clients using a solution of IBP. So I am getting a IBP project. Being a SAP background is more easier for me. Then we should be adopting to IBP, because IBP, once you have exposure, it would be giving better growth. You are learning one thing, but if you don't get a chance to work on that project, experience does not get added. That does not give you the value. Okay. And in market, as a consultant, if you want to see the opportunities, it's not always that the best tools give the best monetary benefits, right? So I give you example. APO. What do you think? APO is a good tool or a bad tool? I say APO is a very bad tool. If it's a good tool, why SAP will replace it? Why SAP is a so big product with so much of algorithms, and SAP is putting into the side basket and developing something new, right? So it was not very good tool. That's why SAP is replacing it. It always has adoption issues. But if you talk about the consultant opportunities, SAP is very highly paid, right? Within SAP, APO consultant are the topmost who got paid. APO consultant are called the cream consultant of SAP, which are the most niche skill in SAP. When all the companies remove the hot skill bonus for everything, APO is one which stand it up. Although APO is not the best tool for the planning and solution, right? If you don't know कि भैया मुझे नहीं पता है कि whether I will get a chance to work on a Connexus project or whether I will get a chance to work on a IBP project, if I don't know anything, I would say you go for IBP. The reason for it. First reason for it, in the supply chain solution, Connexus market share is 0.99%. SAP market share is 19.74%. SAP is a bigger brand name. With the bigger brand name, with the bigger reach to the supply chain market, SAP knows how to sell their product. Many companies, they don't want to really want to go for IBP, but they are using IBP because SAP knows the skill how to sell it, right? That increases their market share because their portfolio is very big. When they sell to the Fortune 500 companies, they don't go with the one tool. They go with the bundle bucket. Okay, you're taking S4HANA, just pay 15% higher, 20% higher, you get success factor, you get IBP. That way they sell the bundles. So they know with the higher reach to their supply chain market, they know how to sell it. But you are very true. IBP is not as mature as Connexus. Okay, it's not as mature. If you see the ratings also, IBP is 4.1 star rating on the demand solutions, demand and planning solution. Connexus is 4.4 rating, right? But when it comes to the career growth, as I suggest you that think about it, that which project is more chances you can get to work on. Okay, if you don't have any idea about it, go for IBP because of SAP brand name. If you are belonging from the SAP technologies, go for IBP. If you are technology agnostic right now, you can select anyone. From my side, it's free to you, but that's what my suggestion, that how to select your module, whether Connexus or IBP, right? And another thing I would say that when you are learning anything, when you're learning Connexus or when you're learning IBP, make sure you are giving a full focus onto the demand and the planning core. If you understand as the demand and the planning as a core, all the business processes, it would be very easy for you to switch from IBP to Connexus or switch from Connexus to IBP, because if you see the both tools side by side, a lot of similarities are there. Look and feel and the way the algorithms are there, the way the setups are there, there's a lot of similarities there. So what I would say that I would like to see someone becoming a technology consultant in the area of planning, which is technology agnostic, which means You can be adopted to Kinexys also. You can be adopted to IBP also. That can happen if you are very strong. Whichever the tool you learn, you put a lot of focus on learning the business processes. If you can learn that, it would be very easy. Within 3 months, you would be switched to Kinexys if the project comes. That is my bit of it. Final decision is yours. You need to answer yourself what you want.
Yeah, well said, Parminder. Just probably recently, I was in a discussion with the SAP leadership also, and then we were talking about the SAP roadmap and vision, just to cross-check what exactly, specifically from the IBP perspective, we started a discussion. And overall, the leadership view from SAP was they foresee the total number of users in SAP by 2028. It will be thrice as of today. So it could be an end user, it could be a key user, it could be an admin, it could be a consultant. People who are touching SAP, they foresee the number of count is going to be triple by end of 2028 or 2029. In next 4 to 5 years, most of the clients will start transitioning to S4 and other possible IBP SAP solutions. And as you rightly indicated, Kinaxis is one of the competitor, but my experience so far is Kinaxis doesn't provide the overall sales and operations planning flexibility which IBP provides. Individually, there might be a better user experience feedback from demand, from supply perspective, but I think so far S&OP from within IBP is holding a grip. And the main reason for that is when clients were asking a common tool from S&OP perspective, SAP asked them, how do you do that now? And their response was, we use Excel. So we use offline Excel to carry out our S&OP. That's what SAP picked it up. And they built this IBP tool in the backend, but the front end is still Excel, Microsoft Excel. So you would be wondering that somebody would be working on an Excel, but in fact, he or she is working on SAP IBP tool. So that is one of the front end, which is very popular now. And that's why any client you go to, they might have some feedback about individual modules, but S&OP is quite matured and they do not want to shift to another tools now. That's the success story for SAP so far. But yes, I think SAP has a challenge in front of them to make sure the individual modules are also stable and clients are going for it. Right. I will quickly go through a few slides. I just wanted to share the architecture of IBP. Okay. Right. So if you look at it, and if you look at the central part, the front end where IBP will be used, it will be an Excel. That's the maximum percentage of users using Excel based front end or UI while working on IBP. However, there are certain web based functionalities SAP has provided in case you want to utilize any analytics, any KPIs, you can use your web UI. And then via mobile or tab, you can also collaborate. Right now, key component of IBP, which is your cloud-based tool, is set up the architecture, which they call it as IBP model configuration. Right. So during training, we will focus more on IBP architecture and model configuration. So we know if I need to implement IBP for certain client, for certain processes, what is the configuration behind it, right? And then secondly, how do I model the solutions to cover different demand planning requirements, different supply planning requirements, and so on. So people probably who have worked on APO or BW, they will understand the concepts of attributes, key figures, etc. But for the rest, it's an easy transition when we'll go to the configuration steps within the IBP, right? And then if you want to carry out planning, you need a data, which is master data or transactional data. So you need a integration between different systems. Like you integrate your master data, let's say from MDM or from your ERP system, you need to integrate it to IBP. Any transactional data which has to come from APO or which needs to go through APO or your BW system, right? You need an integration. So SAP also came up with an option of CPIDS, Cloud Platform Integration for Data Services. It is a middleware which act as a ETL, extraction, transformation, and loading system, right? To make sure that IBP understands the data in the right format, loads it into IBP, and IBP reads the data, transforms it, and send it to these downstream systems for a further planning or execution or reporting purpose. So during training, our focus would be to understand these key components and see how these individual processes can be designed and what is the configuration required behind it. Okay. Now, having said that, I will quickly jump to the curriculum part and just walk you through, right? So we have an IBP overview session. Post that, we will focus more on the configuration activity, which is called as IBP planning area architecture. All the implementation consultants have to be completely aware about all the possibilities of how do I configure my planning area, right? If I want to utilize sales and operations planning, if I want to utilize demand planning, and so on. So we will focus on that. Next, how do I utilize the sales and operations planning module? What are the contents of it, right? So what happens in S&OP in detail, that we will see. How I utilize this planning area concept for S&OP. What are the different calculation logics within S&OP, right? And then there are concepts of time series supply planning during supply review within S&OP. Then we will also talk about our data integration approach. What are the concepts? How data can be integrated? And then we will deep dive into individual module of demand planning, where we will talk about details of statistical forecast, NPIs, which is new product introduction, calculation of your unconstrained demand versus constrained demand, how I can utilize different formulas or logic within the key figures. What is the meaning of time series analysis? How do I take snapshots, right? These are probably new terms for you, but at the end of the training curriculum, you would be expert in this and you would be able to at least drive the design discussions for any supply chain project. Okay. Once we are done with demand planning, we will also cover time series supply planning. Then key component of IBP is managing the roles and authorization. We do not require a basis consultant here. We ourselves will manage and drive the design of roles and authorizations. So we will go through that, and then we will also touch base on the control tower, where we will talk about how I can generate my custom alerts, right? And those alerts can be utilized by the planning community during their S&OP discussions. So as Parminder was saying, which tool to be learned is a secondary part. Once we have gone through one tool, understand the concept, it is easier for you to switch to any tool like Kinaxis, O9, because the concepts are still going to be same. Some terminologies may differ here and there. But in order to utilize the SAP brand name, I think better to learn SAP modules and make ourselves competent in the market. That's my say. So with this, probably I'll stop here. And if there are any questions regarding how do you join the sessions, how do you, I mean, what are the options, etc., probably Parminder and Bhupender can take it over.
Yeah, so we can go through the questions. We have some questions over the chat. Let's quickly go through the questions. So does IBP covers will cover inventory and SP as well in depth? So I think we have shared the curriculum with you. You would be very clear that which part we are covering in depth. We would be more focused on the DP and S&OP part, because 90 to 95% adoption as of now is that part. Rest part is overview, right, Sam?
That's right. That's right. And then while doing that, we will also cover time series supply planning, which is commonly used algorithm by the clients who are using IBP so far. So we want to only train ourselves in those modules which are more being used and which are more matured, right? And maybe we should give some time before we start learning the inventory optimization and response and supply. Yeah, maybe I see one more question, Parminder. Does IBP consultant need to know CPIDS? My understanding is no, it is not required. But IBP consultant has a better understanding of overall integration design, and he will be the one primary person to guide the CPIDS technical resource, how the mapping and transformation can be done, right? So it is similarly, right? Like we being a functional consultants, we prepare the functional specs, right? And over the period, once you start working on IBP, the more you understand the architecture of IBP, you will be easily able to translate that and explain it to your technical resource. Okay? And then you work collaboratively with him or her while doing the unit testing cases.
Okay. Kiran, Vikas is having a question. What is the market of IBP? I think we have spoke about it. I hope that would be clear now, Vikas. Kiran is having a question. Instead of Bundle Excellence PP course, now can I select IBP? Kiran, drop an email to support@sastrageek.com. They would be able to, support team would be able to better suggest you. There are the flexible bundles available. Please have a word with them. They would be able to tell you better. So drop an email to support@sastrageek.com. Omkar is asking, please provide the monetary gains in IBP compared to conventional SAP modules. So try to listen carefully, Omkar, what I'm going to say. A trained IBP, a good IBP end user who is a planner, a good IBP end user who is a planner earns similar or little more than the conventional consultant, than the conventional SAP module consultant. So the end user, IBP, if you learn the IBP, and if you in a company, there's a huge demand because to run these tools, you need a knowledge almost similar to consultant, right? If you work on these tools as an end user also, as a planner, your earning is similar or little more than the conventional consultant. And if you become a consultant of IBP, definitely you would be earning somewhere around 30 to 70%, depend on how good you get a hold on it and what kind of experience you can get it. But 30 to 70% you can earn more compared to the conventional consultant. Suresh is asking, I hope IBP can be adopted in public cloud. It is already on the public cloud, Suresh. Am I correct, right? Sam, it is on the public cloud, right? Sanjay is asking, SAP integrates with all the modules from conception to completion, but any other tool exists in the market to beat it? Sanjay, I think a lot of discussion has happened. We talk about Connexus, we talk about O9. I hope your question might have already answered. Rajdeep has a question. Does IBP covers functionality of SAP BPC? Sam, I think you need to take this up.
Yeah, it is in a way, Rajdeep, it's in a way similar functionality, right? So purpose is not only focusing on quantity alignment, but also on the revenue projections, right? So similar concepts, but moreover, BPC is more driven by finance, whereas IBP is more driven by supply chain, right? So that's the key difference here. So supply chain would be always focused on finalizing your consensus demand or constraint demands. And along with it, it also has a simulation functionality, whereas you can predict the revenue projections, right?
Okay, I think Madhuri, your question has been already answered. Sam has defined very clear curriculum. If you have further question, you can type it again. Vijay has a question. How is the market of IBP? Does it has an individual demand or combined demand like PP and IBP? If only IBP asked, should we be leaving our current skill like PP? So Vijay, when you will be working on, when you are working onto the new modules, when you want to advance yourself, you need to upskill, right? Earlier, SD, a lot of SD and PP consultants was upskilling to APO, right? Then they would be working on APO. But their experience in the core module helped them a lot in the consulting because there is a lot of integration back to the core modules, right? That helps them to consult the further modules, right? So when you will be upskilling yourself to IBP, definitely once you work, once you get a project on IBP, you will be working as an IBP consultant, but your PP experience would be helping you a lot in consulting and to work with the integration with S4HANA side. There is a demand for individual IBP consultant also, but there is a lot of preference has been given to the experience. Even from the PP side, you have a planning experience that comes, that gives you the weightage to go with IBP. Can you tell how good RTI is there in IBP? RTI, you means return our investment?
No, I think it's real-time integration probably, Parminder. So I'll take up this
Okay,
question.
you take it up.
If I understood it correctly. Yeah. So from integration perspective, since we are talking about sales and operations planning, demand planning, and time series supply planning, the integration layer is CPIDS, Cloud Platform Integration for Data Services, right? Which integrates the data from time series mechanism perspective. Whereas if you look at APO, APO is an order-based planning tool where you can identify this is my purchase requisition, this is my planned order, this is my production order, right? So in response and supply, SAP has tried to implement this logic and it integrates with S4 or ECC part with an integration concept called as SDI or RTI. So there is a separate mechanism of integration required that is only applicable for response and supply. So when we are talking about our curriculum, we will be focusing on time series integration, and that's why RTI will not be in scope. RTI will be only in scope when you are integrating data from ECC or S4 to response and supply module. Okay? And SAP is trying to still evolve that. If you see, there are a lot of webinars coming from SAP now, just to push how RTI can be used, but it's still not, 100% mature. Right, so we will focus on time series.
Don't forget to subscribe our channel and click on bell icon to update yourself with latest SAP videos.
We will focus on CPIDS integration, which is being widely used by the clients. Once response and supply will become mature, that time these concepts will come, and then we will have integration with SDI or RTI.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering that, Sam. Nikhil is having a question. Does this course cover on real-time project assignments or exercise? Yes, we would be. So you need to get it with the server access. Now, I want you to tell everyone the server is very expensive. It directly comes from SAP, and SAP is almost charges somewhere around 60 to 65K only for a single ID to us. So server is very expensive here. So we have, when you click on the link, you have two options. One is with server, one is without server. So to practice on the system, Sam would be guiding you step by step what are the things we need to do. And same thing you need to do practice on the system. We have some people who have joined in the earlier batches. They said that, sir, I have a server from my company, so I don't need your server. We said, okay. So we have given the two plans. You can click on the link, you will get the two plans. One is with server and one is without server. Both of the plans would be covering the recorded videos. As soon as you join the course, you will get the recorded videos and the live sessions. Live session also, we are giving it to you for a year. It means if you miss some sessions or if the things are not clear, if you want to join a next batch within 1 year, whatever the next batch we are doing it, you would be able to join the next iterations also. That flexibility also we are giving. Both of the plans has it. The only difference in the two plans is the server access. Second plan would be having a server access. Server access is also shared. We cannot give the open server access like S4HANA because it's extremely costly. So we are giving a server access for 3 hours in a day. You will be getting a slot for 3 hours. and the people who would be enrolling first would be getting the desired slot. The people who would be enrolling last would need to select from the remaining slot in a day.
And having said that, Parminder, if people are not able to get the server access, I would still, I mean, assure you that once we go to the trainings, once we'll have those demonstrations, at the end of the sessions, you would feel more comfortable.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sam. Abhishek is having a question. Do we need to know APO before learning IBP? No, there is no need to learn APO. If you know APO, then learning IBP is must for you, because APO is going to end. You will have to learn IBP to make sure your career is going on, right? But it is not mandatory to learn APO. In between, I missed one question. Currently, I'm working on S4. What is the best for me for learning? Rishi, maybe you can raise your hand or you can mention in detail which part you're working. SCM is supply chain management, whether you're working as a consultant or which exact module you are working on, we would be suggest you better if you just elaborate a little bit more. Deepak is saying, I'm a PPQM consultant. However, once I do the IBP training, what are the chances of getting to work on SAP IBP, considering we are freshers? See, boss, if you're already working as a consultant, you are never treated as a fresher. You've been treated that you are having a less experience in IBP. Okay, that can be treated, and we will suggest you that how you can showcase the IBP experience based on this training, how you can showcase IBP experience in your CV, that we will be guiding you. With that, with your existing experience, plus you would be going with 6 months or 1 year of experience with IBP. And market already knows it. IBP is a new tool. Whatever the consultant they would be getting, they are upskilling consultant. They have 8, 10, 15, 20 years of experience in another module, and they have upskilled to IBP. IBP is a new module. So 1, 2, 3 year is a normal expectation of the experience. People are not expecting 5 to 6 years of experience, because the tool itself is very. Madhuri is asking a repeated question. Maybe Sam, you can answer. In IBP training, does inventory order-based planning topics will be covered? Inventory, I would be covering, Sam, again the DDMRP the last time which we have covered. The same way I would be covering the DDMRP. You can answer on the order-based planning.
So Madhuri, order-based planning is nothing but response and supply. So we will be covering time series supply planning, and we will not be covering order-based supply planning. The reason, it is still not yet mature. I mean, I may continue explaining that, but you would see after 2 months or 3 months, the concepts are being changed, right? The solution is being still revised. So I would prefer not to touch base order-based planning till SAP has a lot of success stories over it, right? So let's focus on the important modules which are stable, which are in demand by clients, so that we can establish ourselves as experts in that area, right? Rather than trying to check or follow the immature models so far.
Okay, Sanjay is having a question. How domain experience will help for plant heads in IBP? Domain experience, if you have, that is the one thing which would help you a lot to learn IBP. If you're having a domain experience as a planner, that will help you to learn IBP, because then you know that what kind of planning algorithms or what kind of planning situations or challenges can come up, and then you would be able to learn the tool easily and consult also in a better way. So it's a big plus. Vikas is asking cost of both plan. Boss, just click on the link. You will see 2 prices in INR, 1 price and second price. Because from the country you are clicking it, there can be the taxes applied accordingly. So for every country, there can be a little bit of price difference. That can be because of the taxes. So click on the link and you will find the price. Omkar is asking, is it necessary to get certified in IBP? Sam, do you know, do we have IBP certification now?
It exists. I would say not at all. There is no need, you need to be certified. Okay. If I am the interviewer, I will ask you questions which will clarify me whether you have worked on IBP, how much skill you have, and accordingly I will evaluate you. There is no need, you should go for certification.
Thank you, Sam. Deepak is asking, what would be the total duration of this course? Is it only for weekend classes, or do you conduct the daily classes as well? This batch will be only weekend classes, Deepak, because after doing a weekend classes, you will require some time to grasp the knowledge and to do the things on the system. And right now the daily classes are not there. This batch would be only the weekend classes. And it will take around 2 to 2.5 months to get the course completed. Okay, with that, we have answered all of the question. If anyone is having a more career related question, you can stay on, you can raise your hand. I will give you the unmute access. You can ask your questions. Anyone who wants to unmute yourself to ask any career related question?
Hi, Sam. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
Yes,
hear.
Omkar. Go ahead.
Actually, sorry, troubling. I asked a couple of annoying questions. I must feel that. But
Not
the
a
thing
problem.
is, see, I am a self-learner. I learned IBP related concepts through self-learning. So that's why I asked a couple of deep questions here. But the thing is, my concern is when I'm a basically, let me give you my background. I belong to EP related background, and um, there was some part where I also was a part of a APO related phase out and IBP demand related implementation. So that time, what I felt when I am trying to apply to the full time IBP related opportunities, the people are expecting that you should be able to handle entire implementation because implementation duration is not much and not many resources are required for implementation. That is what I have encountered because compared to conventional modules, IBP is not taking that much time to implement. If I am right, if you can correct me if I'm wrong. But see, they are expecting that you should be able to do the end-to-end implementation. That in that case, how shall we tackle the interview scenario? Because see, if I get knowledge from you, you are definitely gonna train us in demand and supply, and you will be touch basing the inventory or SNS response planning or control tower or whatever the modules are there. But the interviewer is also not itself that much knowledge, and they are expecting that we are subject matter experts, and you should handle the client solely, like entire proof of concept and everything they are expecting us to do. So in that scenario, how shall we convince them that we are eligible for this or something like that? Like, you got my you got my question because this is a
Yes.
very important question at this moment.
And that's
For Sam, you just answer. I just want to ask one thing from Omkar. So,
Yes.
Omkar, do you have any consulting experience? You said you belong from PP, but do you
Yes, I have a consulting experience and
have?
I have used the IBP systems. But when I'm trying to shift from PP to IBP, the people who are interviewing, they are expecting that this is a kind of solution where they are not hiring separate consultants for each module. Okay, these sub modules are altogether handled by a single consultant. In my project itself, there is only a single person who is handling all the modules, these 5 modules. And in interview case as well, they are expecting that a small amount of people should handle all the implementation activities. So in that case, when we are facing the transition from conventional modules to IBP, like what can be the key factors which
Yeah,
will
just two
help
questions.
us? Yeah, yeah,
Sorry
sure,
to
sure,
interrupt.
sure,
Two
sure. Go,
questions.
go, go.
In which country you are in, and how many years of
Yeah,
consulting
yeah.
experience?
I'm in India only, and I'm
Mhm.
having around 4 years of consulting experience. And you can say like I have the fair knowledge of IBP, you can say, but I still want to get the detailed knowledge.
Okay, yeah, Sam, you go ahead first, then I will pitch in.
yeah. So that's a good question, Omkar. I mean,
Yeah.
knowledge from IBP perspective can be in different directions. Okay, one is
Okay.
person having a end user level knowledge, a person having key user level knowledge, or maybe an administrator level knowledge, or maybe at a configuration level knowledge, right? And
Mhm.
my experience so far is most of the service providers try to pitch in for the implementation with a marketing strategy saying that IBP requires lesser implementation time, right? Okay,
Right.
that goes with a condition that only standard building blocks which are provided by SAP will be implemented. And you would realize when the actual implementation starts, then during the design workshops, most of the standard SAP building blocks will not be sufficient enough to provide the client requirements. And that's where your expertise is required to map the solution, right? Or propose the solution which will fit into the client requirement. As individual client will have a different ways of managing their S&OP, different ways of managing their demands, right? So that's where probably it's a marketing gimmick by service providers to say that, okay, IBP can be implemented in 4 months or 6 months. But with this, they mention that it is along with the condition of utilizing the standard SAP building blocks. However, it doesn't work out, right? And as you also rightly indicated, one individual consultant will not be sufficient to implement all the modules. Okay, that's the fact. You may be expert in S&OP and demand, but you need another expert from the configuration perspective. We may need another expert from solutioning the overall solution or implementing the response and supply and so on.
Okay, got it.
So, but then expectation during interviews, right? That's where we play a role. When we designed a curriculum and when we go through the demonstrations, we also utilize those kind of business cases, use cases, and brainstorm how these business use cases can be mapped using IBP solution. So we do not only follow some SAP help documentation to say step 1, step 2, step 3, right? If I have requirement in this manner, how do I design a solution? Whereas my another client has a different requirement altogether. In that case, how the S&OP can be managed, right? That's the key where we want to provide significance in the use case specific solutions and not the standard ways of training.
Right.
Yeah, I think Parminder had you wanted to go
because the thing is, currently, if you see in market, if I dive deep, I googled a couple of things, I came across that around more than 50,000 customers are using conventional SAP solutions, but only around the globe, around the world, only 450 to 460 customers are right now using IBP. Okay, full time as a planning solution, and the number is increasing day by day. But that's what I'm seeing. So in number of implementations that are done yet, that number is very low. So when we are facing the interview, we are facing the expectation that there is no support project. You have to deal with the implementation. And even if company is hiring for not for implementation, they are hiring you for proof of concept. So that two things I'm facing right now. I have not come across a single technical support related requirement in interview. So that's what my concern was. If I learn this from you, like, will I be able to justify my knowledge up to that level where I'll be able to meet their expectation and that I'm a right person to go for the implementation? Will they trust me? That's my question.
When we train people, right, we do not only train with a expectation of you should be a support person, you should be a implementation person, right? There are different roles within the phases, right? So
I'm telling you the right now situation. You also know that not many customers are having IBP. So obviously the projects are related to implementation.
That's correct. And as you rightly indicated, most of the cases would be also related to POCs because that's the starting point for the service provider to get into the
to get the business, to get the clients. Yeah, you have to convince them, right?
Yeah. So once I get a project for a POC of S&OP, and that once I deliver it, I will be able to showcase what are the missing points from this proof of concept, and then I will get a bigger project to implement demand. Bigger project to implement inventory, right? So it's a starting point for all the service providers.
Right.
Our objective is to make sure participants understand overall IBP solutions. They will be able to understand client requirements and visualize how this can be mapped using IBP solutions. And then they can fit into any role, whether it is a lead role, whether it is a configuration role, whether it's a tester role, whether it's an admin role, or even the end user role.
Yes, great. And one more thing, like, it was an amazing session, and I would like to tell audience as well, like from my experience of interview, like with the basic knowledge of interview as well, I could crack the interview. So the level of knowledge you are providing us definitely able to get us a good interview success, definitely. So if the amount of efforts you are putting into this, like it's appreciable. It's definitely gonna help us. I definitely believe so.
Thank you, Omkar.
Yes,
Thank you for the
absolutely.
appreciation.
Because I have attended direct training sessions from SAP itself during some training sessions. Even there are very limitations and very uh, limited amount of knowledge they are providing. So the amount of knowledge you are providing in such a lesser amount of money, it's quite good, I would say. And monetary gains, why I ask, because uh, as of now I am seeing like a very big jump. They are providing tremendous amount of money. For example, from 10 lakh, people are suddenly getting 30-35 lakh of salary with the experience of 2 to 3 years in IBP. I'm seeing such kind of amounts. But that's what my concern was. If they are giving you such a big amount, a hike, because they don't have manpower, right? They are giving that much amount of money because you are the only one they found with knowledge, and out of 100 only one person is knowing this technology, so they are ready to pay as much as you are asking. That's my concern, is like we should be able to, like I should be able to justify that amount, right? That's the problem. That's the thing. Even my personal experience, I suddenly, they were ready to offer me such a huge amount of money for working with them, but I was very afraid, like I should not take that, because if I'm taking that, I should be able to justify that much amount they are paying me. So that
You
kind of
know,
thing. That's why I
Omkar,
asked you that.
with
Yeah.
your statement, I remember one thing.
Yeah.
When I joined around 18 years ago,
Yeah.
SAP Career, people used to tell that the people who have joined, the consultant who joined around 20 to 30 years ago, they own
Mm-hmm.
their own island. They bought their
Exactly.
own
In
islands.
similar case, I'm seeing in IBP. Like example, one of my colleague, I
So,
wouldn't say the name. He was working at a 9 lakh LPA, and he's just having a couple of like support related activities knowledge, and suddenly got a next package of 30 lakh from 9 lakh in IBP, and he survived. But not everyone can survive. So I would say like amount is very big. People are getting in IBP, but I feel like we should go gradually. like
No,
like grabbing such, like
no, no,
gradual
sir.
increase is
I,
fine. Yeah.
I differ here. I mean,
Okay.
we shouldn't be conservative.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, that is
we
also
should
right.
aim
That
high.
is also right.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
If your knowledge is having that much value, then definitely you should go for it. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes. Definitely. Thank you. Thank you, Sam, for such an amazing insight here.
Yeah. Thanks, Sundar.
Yes.
okay, any last question before we end the today's session? Okay, career question from Abhishek. What are in-demand SAP modules for what are in-demand SAP modules for freelancing? Abhishek, this IBP module is very good for freelancing. AATP, very good for freelancing. EWM and TM. Whatever the modules which is next step from the core modules, these 4 modules I consider very good for freelancing. Nikhil is having a question. I understand you mentioned this course can be taken up by the fresher as well, but would you recommend for a fresher, or someone has to get first SAP module like PP and MM? I think, Sam, you should answer this.
Yeah. So I would say, Nikhil, there is no need as such. Having a background definitely helps, right? If I am interviewing a person who is probably a fresher and with an IBP training done, and a person with a PP or MM background with an IBP training done, I would definitely prefer a person with a PP or MM background for sure. But having said that, it is not mandatory. There are different kind of roles and requirements, right? There are requirements even for the junior level people within IBP as a configuration team members, right? As a support team members. So based on the role requirement, the evaluation happens, right? So even if it's a fresh, he or she is a fresher and wants to enroll into IBP, they are welcome. I have seen a lot of freshers, and probably Omkar also mentioned, right? Right? I think I have trained multiple freshers, and within an year or two, they got an offer to equivalent to the senior executives or senior engineers from the organization hierarchy perspective. So do not think that freshers cannot work on IBP or they will have a limitations, etc. But yes, having background definitely helps.
Okay, and there would be the multiple things, you can also start by as a SAP, as a IBP end user. IBP end user, you can start, it is almost equivalent to SAP consultant for the conventional modules, or even little more.
Yeah. So others, coming back to your question, normally during the training curriculum itself, we have a dedicated session to understand the frequently asked questions from interview perspective, kind of an interview preparation activity, right? And then based on my experience so far, the way I interview or evaluate resources, and based on the frequently asked questions, we train yourself.
Okay, Chatterjee has a question that if with IBP he wants to club any module, PPQM, MM, or SD, which should he combine? Sam, you can answer that best.
Yeah, I mean, personally speaking, I will not encourage you to combine modules, right? It will be too overwhelming for you. Okay, focus on one module. If you want to learn IBP, let's focus on IBP and get through it. Okay, and once at least you are 80 to 90% through it, then you can start going through the overview of other modules. But attempting 2 or 3 modules at a time, probably you will lose your focus. That's my view, right? So I think you can take a call accordingly, but don't forget to subscribe our channel and click on bell icon to update yourself with latest SAP videos. Not rush yourself.
Last question from Adarsh. One of the client is going to adopt IBP. Can you guide us what kind of the question to be asked to the client to extract the requirements? I think to answer this question, you need to attend the full training. Full training is about to learning that what IBP has, and to implement that, what questions you need to ask. But maybe Sam would be able to answer tell few right away.
Yeah, I think that's what I also mentioned, Parminder. Probably the way we have designed our curriculum, just to make sure that you understand different business use cases, different questions which would come up as part of your evaluation. And we have a dedicated session also as part of our curriculum to understand those frequently asked questions during interview, right? I mean, it would be difficult just to guide you with a couple of questions here. Those questions come up in real-time evaluation, right? I will evolve on those questions if I'm an interviewer, others, right? So I think it would not be fair to just mention a couple of examples here. I think probably let's focus on the training. Let's make sure we are competent enough to go through all the different challenges of interview and evaluations.
Okay, thank you, Sam. With this, we have answered all of the questions. Thank you for asking such a great questions to make this session so interactive. We are thankful for your time over the Sunday evening or Sunday morning, people joining for Western side. Thank you very much for Sam to participate as a guest in this step up circles and sharing your knowledge on IBP. We really value it, and we would look forward to invite you again in future to have a little bit more different topics on IBP.
Thank you, Parminder. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you, everyone.